we are a bunch of wild and crazy Cleveland Browns fans, bringing you all the latest in Browns news. Tune in now. Hey, hello everybody. Welcome Thursday night edition of the Fanatical Elfz show. We are here. It's the day after Christmas. Thank you for joining us. It's 8:45 Eastern, 7:45. It's Central Time. I say that because both Jarrell Flint and Sam are in the Central Time zone. Jarrell coming from Nashville, Tennessee. Sam coming from Dallas, Texas. Diehard Browns fans here on this Thursday night. How are you guys doing? Jarrell, how you doing tonight?
Doing well. You know, not football related, but yeah, doing well. Football wise, pretty sick, but you know.
Well, we'll get there in just a moment, Jarrell. But
Okay.
we're festive still, you know, it's post-Christmas. I do want to apologize to those of you who are watching live right now on X or on Facebook or on where else on YouTube. I am wearing purple, but the purple, if you notice, it's a Cats at K-State. Yes, Kansas State Wildcats, not Baltimore Ratbirds. I lived in Kansas for many years and love the Kansas State Wildcats. Have several former family members that went to Kansas State, so a big Kansas State fan. They played tonight against Rutgers. I think they're getting their butts. Well, they were getting back in the game, but I don't know what the score is right now. Either one of you watching that? No,
I'm not.
Okay. Sam, how are you doing down there in Dallas?
Good. It's been nice. It's been raining the whole past 2 days, so we had a gloomy Christmas, but it's been good. It's been Christmas, you know, was fine. It wasn't off the rails. Well, not like that. I don't know. I lost my brain train of thought here, but yeah, it was good. It's been a good 2 days.
Well, we like the Browns gear. Sam's we're sporting some new Browns gear, so really like that.
Hair's in the way. Hold on. There you go. There they are.
All right. Well,
brown colored too. So.
Well, the Brownies play this Sunday. They play a late afternoon game at 4:00 against the Miami Dolphins, and we have 2 games left. The Browns are a pathetic, 3 wins and 12 losses.
12.
Yeah. Ugh. So just topics of discussion today include Joel Bitonio was on earlier at the in Berea talking after one of their practices about his possibilities and what his future holds for him. And he's, I guess, 11 years now he's played for the Cleveland Browns. So he's talking about, you know, potentially retiring. He wants to retire wearing a Cleveland Browns uniform. He doesn't see himself going anywhere else. But he also talked a little bit about Myles Garrett and what he was talking about last week and seeing what the Browns' plans are and how that's going to have an effect and a bearing on what he does this offseason. And now Joel Bitonio has kind of slowed down. He's one of our offensive linemen. We've kind of expected him not to be around much longer, but it's just, again, the conversation is we're kind of waiting to see what the Browns organization does. Jarrell, where are you at with all this? You followed. Joel's been a pretty, you know, he's standard with the Browns offensive line.
Right. It's hard to replace that if he were to leave at the end of the season, and I think that would make next year that much more difficult to try to retool because he was one of the few pieces on the offensive line that you could count on. Like Myles Garrett is one of the, you know, they got more people on defense, I think, that you can count on. But, you know, it's hard to replace that type of production, that type of consistency. And so, yeah, that's alarming if this could potentially be the last season. So hopefully they can maybe convince him to come back. But if he's done, and he doesn't come back next year, they're really in a world of trouble.
Well, I think that's what the speculation is today, is that like players, these veteran players are now coming out and saying some of these things in regards to what the Browns organization is doing, going back to this whole Deshaun Watson's, what we've done with him for the last 3 years. Sam, did you catch the interview today? Did you see any of that, or what are your thoughts here on Joel?
I didn't
And
see the interview, but from what I've just quickly seen, he's 33, right? He's not
yeah,
terribly old, but for NFL, he is definitely getting up there in age.
yeah,
And so 33, I think he does have a few more years on him.
yeah,
But it's his body, it's his choice right now. And I think comparably, there is someone on the Cowboys offensive line. I can't remember his name right now. He's the super good guy on the Cowboys offensive line. He'll pop up really quickly when I
Zach
search.
Martin.
Zach Martin,
yes,
who has also gotten up in age. He's around the same age as Joel Batanio right now. Zach Martin is 34, so they're almost the exact same age.
okay,
And Zach Martin still is one of the better players in the league on offensive line. He did get hurt, and so I think he was out for the season. But right now, it's up to him. Really, it matters.
Mm-hmm.
Does he want to play one more year? Is the toll on his body worth it? But is the money worth it? Right? There's a lot of things an NFL player has to consider when deciding whether they want to hang it up or whether they want to stick around. And I think I wouldn't complain if he wanted to stick around another year or two. But I think it's completely up to him, and he's going to have to weigh a lot of options before he makes a final decision.
The one thing that he mentioned in the part that I saw of the interview was that that losing, which the Browns are doing right now, makes it more difficult, to get ready to go again another week. And I think he's feeling that effect. And he even mentioned Joe Thomas, and even speculated in the interview that he had, Batonio did, that, did Joe retire because he wanted to, or was it more or less because the Browns sucked when he was playing for them too? And did that have a factor? And from how he presented it, would not surprise me if Batonio is right in that probably Thomas quit partially because the Browns sucked.
Well, that's begs the question: how can you have these players tell them with a straight face, we're going to run it back with the same GM?
Yep.
We're going to run it back with the same coach.
Yep.
And we're going to, like, they haven't won the division with these guys in charge. So
right.
Are you going to tell them that a division title is on the table? We're running it back with these guys that they're going to kill in the draft, that they're going to kill in free agency with less money. Like, I don't think you can sell that dream, because we know that they can't sell it to us as the fans. So can you really sell it to Myles Garrett and them? They're at practice every day. They see what's going on.
Yes.
So, that's why, to me, I think Haslam has to consider, you got to consider cleaning house and providing a spark somewhere.
Well, it's still being thrown out there. It's still circulating. I know some people on our network and a lot of fans will disagree with this and say that Stefanski is completely safe, and so is Andrew Berry. But I mean, 3-14 is just really putrid, and we all say, "Oh, we can turn it around." And yeah, we've turned it around, but we weren't 3-14 before with Stefanski. We were 7-10, 8-9. I think you've mentioned this maybe, or someone else I've read who's really critical of Stefanski has talked about how, in his opinion, is a sports writer, someone I forget what he writes for, but that he suggests that after that first season, and Jarrell, you'll point to this, that he didn't even win that playoff game. He was at home in his basement. Right. So just that there's been a big drop off, that everybody thought that he was this great coach. And what happened last year, I mean, there was a lot of quarterback changing, and they ended up winning, 11 games. Several of those with pardon me, I dropped something over here. Joe Flacco. So I don't know. I still think he's in serious. I think would not be surprised, Jarrell, like you, if something else happens this offseason, despite everyone saying that he's completely safe.
Well, and this may be a good segue into our next topic. I don't know how much time we have, but the running back thing. If you're Andrew Berry,
Yeah.
And Derrick Henry becomes a free agent. Saquon Barkley becomes a free agent. Josh Jacobs, Austin Eckler. You basically had an embarrassment of riches at running back, and you could have picked
You're
any of
talking
these
about
running
last year.
backs.
Yeah.
Talking about last season, going
Yeah.
into this season,
Sure.
and you knew Chubb was going to be hurt, and you could have basically had an upgrade to Jerome Ford as you waited for Chubb to get back, and then had maybe a 1-2 punch
Wasn't
if
some of the
Chubb.
money there though, Jarrell? I mean, wasn't there money involved, like as far as the free agency and signing someone like Derrick Henry? Wouldn't that have cost the team?
I think Derrick Henry only got $10 million.
Okay.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I know
Yeah,
it
I'm not
wasn't.
sure. I don't have that in front
Yeah,
of me.
here in Dallas, because Dallas wanted to get Derrick Henry, that's a thing they bring up, that he got such little money that the Cowboys could have easily picked him up, but didn't for some reason.
Yeah, it was bargain basement prices. So again, I'm sure that Myles Garrett and them see that. Barkley and Henry were free agents, and look at what their teams are doing, respectively.
Yeah,
I know they see that.
Well, let me tell you what, I have a lot of Chiefs fans because I lived in Kansas, and they're very happy that Kareem Hunt is back with them and has had a very productive and helpful to their success this year. I know there are a lot of fans that are sick and tired of the Chiefs, but they just keep winning. And Kareem Hunt, I think, is approaching 800 yards in the season. The last I checked. Again, just I appreciate what Kareem did here for 5 seasons. And I'm sure there were some issues that were going on behind the scenes, and that's what you hear is why he was not brought back. But
but it's football. But see, it's football. This is not New England. They don't have Bill Belichick where they can just walk away from guys. If you got guys that are being productive, why would you, until you have the replacement, why would you let them walk? And that's what I think Andrew Berry and Stefanski are doing. Like, you didn't really have a replacement for Baker when you started trying to get off of Baker. But then you got thrown into this carousel, and you had to offer Deshaun Watson that money because he told you no on the front end because you didn't have a plan for getting off Baker. So,
what do you think, Sam, with the whole running back stuff like Derrick Henry and all those guys, and the Browns not going after those guys, bringing in some of the other guys that have not done a lot this past season?
Well, running backs is tough because sometimes they will go. I mean, the Saquon Barkley thing, it was the system clearly that was messing him up. I mean, he won't, but he should win MVP, but a quarterback's going to win MVP. In my opinion, I think Saquon probably should win MVP.
Yeah.
I think he's going to be very good. He's been very good. But you don't really know how good a running back is going to be or how bad they're going to be in a specific season. Now, you can make assumptions, right? Saquon Barkley's probably going to do better than some random guy.
Well, there have been some guys that have been more consistent. I mean, Saquon's been pretty consistent.
Yeah.
Derrick Henry,
injuries,
right? Yeah.
Injuries always play a part. Yeah, Saquon's been good, but sometimes, like Derrick Henry, people thought he was reaching the end of his career. He was only going to have 800, 900 yards. He wasn't going to be as good as he's always been because he's getting old. And obviously he's proved them wrong with how good he's been. But sometimes you just can't really, I guess, it just doesn't, it's just hard to predict, right? It just doesn't, it's hard to predict if you're going to have a good running back or not. But I think the Browns could have picked someone up like that. But we had Nick Chubb. We knew he was going to be healthy, so I think that's what we had to stick with.
Yeah, and then that's we see what's happened since, but I mean, he didn't come back until what week did he come back? Was it week?
It was late.
8 or 9.
Yeah, which is more reason. Again, when Myles Garrett said we need to get back to running the ball, to me that was a shot at the front office.
Yeah,
you had the opportunity to get a couple of guys that are solidified
that's
guys.
Interesting. Yeah,
right. That can be your sledgehammer.
Sure.
That you can operate in 2nd and 3, 2nd and 2. But to plays devil's advocate on that, you got a lot of pre-snap penalties. So a Saquon Barkley or a Derrick Henry probably wouldn't have fixed that when it's 1st and 20.
Well, hey, let's pause here for a quick break. We're the Fanatical Elfz Show. It's a Thursday night. We're talking Browns, all things that are bad about the Browns right now. We'll be right back. We'll talk about some good, maybe, after the break. All right. Thank you for joining us back here on the Fanatical Elfz Show. You can download us on Apple, on Spotify, anywhere you listen to a podcast. These guys, Jarrell, Dog Food Radio program. He had his show out earlier this week. Sam, I did not get yours downloaded. I will get that out later after this show is over.
All right.
So his Browns breakdowns will be coming out to you shortly on Apple, Spotify. We got several other contributors, from Steve Gill, who does the Dog Pound South show, to Burning River Browns Talk. Lou Marconi will be doing that show tomorrow night with her Sherry, our Browns fan girl, doing that show. We also have Browns Blitz with Rod Bloom. And who am I? I know I'm missing somebody. Well, Sherry's doing and then Ethan, going nuclear with our new contributor, Ethan Greenberg. Sherry does her Breezy Browns Talk. Just a lot of fun. Good to have these guys on with us. And Jarrell, and Jarrell's got this line of clothing too. I don't know are you wearing any of it today again?
Yeah, I'm wearing the elf hoodie today.
My son, so. We've got two of those. I wear mine, and then Grant wears his, and so really good stuff. But you can get that at what? Dog Food Store, DAWG foodstore.com. Sweet. Please go look at this website. It's really good stuff. Really is. And it's that sweatshirt you're wearing is it's thick, and it's very warm. It's got really good material. Yeah, it's not like it's a really good product. All right, so let's stick with the running back stuff, because you were just talking about with the, there's now when the season gets over here, we're going to be going first in the free agency, and then we're going to go into the draft. There's a lot of chatter about the Browns drafting a running back. There's been a lot of names. The kid out of Boise State is projected, we were talking about this off air, in the top 10 somewhere. And a lot of Browns fans are starting to talk about this kid potentially coming to Cleveland. Should the Browns take him as the number one pick? Jarrell, let's go with you again here. You talked a little bit about this with the draft position. Mm-hmm. You want to go into that a little bit about this running back? Because there's other running backs too. There's the two good kids out of Ohio State, Junkins and Henderson, that are both projected to be in the top 30 or 40 players. So where are you at with all of that, with the running game?
Well, I think the running game probably needs to be addressed just as insurance. I know there's some people that might say to get an offensive lineman, but I think you just got to go with best available. Mm-hmm. I don't trust Andrew Berry though, so I think he's probably gonna trade out of that pit. I think whatever it is,
he's done it before.
And that, because didn't they trade out one year and I think they traded out and Deshaun Watson was there. Like, I think it was the draft they took Myles Garrett.
Was he there? I mean, they could have taken Patrick Mahomes in the same draft.
Yeah.
I don't think he was there. Was that they took Myles at number 1, and that was the same draft that they could have taken Patrick Mahomes. And I
think it was like 9 or 10, and they traded out of that. And I can't remember if Mahomes had gotten taken, but I guess what I'm saying is I don't think they can afford to do that. You got your first round picks back. You need to get a first round pick. Stop trying to do the free agent thing and fill in the gaps. That you need to get young talent on cheap contracts.
Okay.
So that's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see them just take the best available, whether that's a running back, whether that's a defensive lineman, and not necessarily draft on need. Just draft on playmakers who can come in and
is there a player that you can think of right now that you've monitored? I mean, I haven't really got it in deep to the draft yet. Maybe Sam, you have a little bit more, but is there a player I haven't really followed it. Is there a player out there that Jarrell, that you've heard of that would be
I know Tennessee has a good edge rusher. And honestly, I think the Ohio State running back, Ohio State tends to produce good running backs.
Yeah.
But there's nobody that jumps off the paper to me this year in college football, but I don't watch every game every Saturday.
Well, on this, I'm looking at the PFF Pro Football. I forget what the FF stands for. Anyway,
Football Focus.
Football Focus. They've got that Ashton Gentry, Genty from Boise State at number 4 overall in the draft. That's where they see him going. They have this kid out of North Carolina, Hampton, first name Omarion Hampton, projected at 27 on the big board. They've got Caleb Johnson, a big back from Iowa, projected 29, and then the Junkins kid, Junkins, at 30, and then his running mate Henderson from Ohio State at 45. So I mean, they got 5 running backs, and I've seen some other lists. Let me see. Sam, what do you know about the running backs? I know you've been kind of looking. You start looking at the draft already.
I think running backs are a potential look for a draft, but honestly, I don't think running backs are. I think running backs are going to start going. If you want to get a running back, a good running back, I think you need to look 3rd or 4th round even, because running backs are undervalued and they love to fall. And especially now, there's going to be a lot of teams competing because people have seen the whole idea of what if we just draft a running back in the 3rd or 4th round, pay him a $1.3 million a year, and then he
like Jerome
produces
Ford, right? Isn't that what we did with Jerome Ford?
It might have been, but yeah, you draft someone 4th or 5th round, you pay him $900,000 a year, you get 800-900 yards out of him, you get a good solid running back, and you barely pay him anything. So I think top of the line running backs, especially with rookies, are going to produce similar numbers to a 4th or 3rd round pick running back that you can get for a lot cheaper, and it's a worse pick. So right now, I think the draft, if we're going to get around 4, it's going to be either, I'm going to say probably defensive. I think I think potentially you could see
the 1st round pick on defense.
Yeah, I think so. I think potentially you could see the kid out of Colorado, not Shedeur Sanders, the other guy. He could be there
Hunter?
at 4. Yeah, Hunter? I think he could be there at 4, honestly, because I think the Giants are going to snag Sanders simply because they need a quarterback and they need them bad. And I think the other 2 are going to go to that kid out of Penn State and then another guy. And so potentially, if you get 4, you could be able to draft Travis Hunter and get that kind of value.
I'm a K-State fan. I've got my gear on. DJ Giddens is their running back. Didn't play in the game today because he's sitting out because he doesn't want to get injured during this bowl game. But he's a pretty good, kind of a lanky running back, 6'1", pretty quick, projected to go in between the 2nd and 4th round. He might be someone the Browns might be looking at. So that's a couple other names out there. There's that Travion Travar Etienne. Isn't Etienne? I think it's his cousin or something. The Etienne. Didn't he play for the Jacksonville Jaguars? The current
ETN?
Yes, I can't say it right.
Yeah, I think that's like his little brother or something.
Is that his brother? Okay.
I think.
Okay. Well, he's projected to be one of the. He's currently playing with the Georgia Bulldogs. So that would be another.
You did well with the last Georgia running back.
Well, right.
But whatever they do in this draft, they need to get faster. There needs to be more speed on offense. I think they got enough speed on defense. Yeah, they need more speed on offense. There's not enough. Take the top off the defense, stretch the defense type of stuff. Seems like the defense doesn't have no problem keeping up with these guys.
Well, now the only thing about the defense that concerns me long term, we start talking about things that went awry for the Browns this year. JOK, that injury, I'm really concerned. I've heard mixed things about his return. That could be life threatening or career ending. He was at the, he's the premier as far as the speed and all of that. And if that's hampered or if he's, I don't know. I've heard different things. I don't know if anybody else has heard that, but I've heard seen things on social media platforms that are, and even some stories that are reporting that what happened to him was very serious. So,
well, then you got to go linebacker then for sure.
Well, that's what.
First 2 or 3 rounds.
Yeah.
Just as insurance.
We're going to get Alex Wright back. I mean, Alex Wright, the defensive end, got injured early in the year, but he's a pretty good guy that could, be on the other side there. With we talked about some of these other guys that have stepped up. Michael Hall, Isaiah McGuire. So.
Do they have a 2nd and 3rd round pick? Like, what are the picks? Did they?
Sam, do you have those in front of you?
What?
The picks for the Browns. I can look them up real quick.
Oh, no, I don't. I'm looking at the 2025 stuff.
So let me just go on to this next question while we look that up. Jarrell, has there been anything good about this Browns season that you take away from it?
No.
Okay.
Because I think that whatever has happened, whether it's the Jerry Jeudy emergence and the Jameis Winston almost throwing for 500 yards, which that's the first time Stefanski has ever had a 400-yard passer in his
Yes.
career.
Yes.
So, but you can't even acknowledge that. You can't even say, well, that bodes well for the next year because Jameis Winston might not even be here and all of those kind of things. You just mentioned the JOK injury.
Yes.
Obviously, Nick Chubb really hasn't come back and looked like the Nick Chubb people were accustomed to. They traded away Amari Cooper. I can't think of anything that was redeemable or was a bright spot for this particular season. Because again, when you're talking about 3 wins, and I know people will disagree with this, but if they finish the season at 3 and what would that be, 14 or 15?
Yep.
That is damn near 0-16 or 1-15. You're not that far removed from it.
No.
So what's good about this season?
Well, I like a couple of things that you said. I mean, I'm glad to have seen Jerry Jeudy play a little bit more and see what he potentially could do. I think that's a good thing. I think some of the players on defense have been able to do a few things like Michael Hall recently. But no, it's few and far between. We kind of know what we're going to get with someone like David Njoku. I'm not a big David Njoku fan. If he left, I wouldn't. I know some fans would be like, "Oh my God," but he's not my favorite. So if he left, it would not make me too upset. But obviously, finding a good tight end is hard to find, and he's done some good things. No, I can't think of too many other good things. I mean, think about our kicking game. I mean, here we thought Dustin Hopkins was going to be the guy. We give him a 3-year contract or something silly like that, and now he can't. It's like he's a mental case, and it's so funny when you hear the organization and the coaches all say, "Oh, it's not a mental thing." Oh, yes, it is. Like you guys try to. I get so annoyed. That's I think the biggest thing that annoys me as a fan, that other Browns fans and other analysts try to talk to us Browns fans like we don't know anything about the game of football, and we don't know about sports and psychology and the mental side of things. I mean, come on, you guys you've watched Dustin Hopkins. He's missed 10 field goals this year. Is that not mental? Or I mean, it's definitely got some mental to it. Yeah, there's some physical part to it, and there's the techniques and all. But are we that dumb that the organization thinks that we don't know what we're to see? That just drives me.
I think they think that. I'd like to see the Browns I'd like to see them on Hard Knocks every year, because I think the little bit of that we've seen on Hard Knocks, and people say a lot about Hugh Jackson, and again his record wasn't really that good.
Yeah.
But when I look at Kevin Stefanski and then I look at the other 3 coaches, to me it's clear why they're the 3rd or 4th best team in the division, because of little things like, all right, I can't remember what episode it was, and forgive me if anybody hasn't seen this yet, but they were down 21-0. I can't remember maybe it was to the Steelers. They was down by like 3 scores to somebody. And he said to Jameis Winston, well, for us, it's still 0-0. No, it's not 0-0. You're down by 3 scores. Now, if you want to say it's 3-0 because you just have to score 3 times, okay, well, I can understand that. But it's not 0-0. It's not. If you're up 21-0, you can say that. If you're up 21-0, you can say that. Not when you're down 21-0.
So he was So he was talking to his player. Is that what happened? He was talking to
Winston? For us, it's 0-0. Yeah.
During the game.
During the game, yes.
Go back and watch it. Okay, I haven't. Yes. I've not seen the episode, so.
Oh, you should go watch that. Yeah, it was great. It's great, and you'll see why. It'll give you a glimpse as to why. Again, I know injuries is happening, this and that, but you'll see a little bit as to what the coaching philosophy is compared to Tom.
Well, I get that too. I mean, I've been in a lot of coaching situations too, like especially with basketball at the high school level, and then you're getting these moments where you get a timeout, you're on the sideline, and you're talking strategy, but you're trying to get a player to focus in on whatever they need to do. But yeah, I agree with what I'll have to go back and watch whatever that was. You have to remind me after.
Hard Knocks. It's on HBO. You got
Right.
HBO Max?
I don't. So I'll
Okay.
have to steal it somehow and see that part. Sam, has there been anything good this Brown season in your mind?
Jerry Jeudy has been good, but it's not a whole lot else. I'm excited about seeing our young wide receivers. I think they would be really good if we had a good quarterback. I think that's been a limiting factor for a lot of our wide receivers. I still think our offense is still. I think the limiting factor for what's been happening is our quarterback just hasn't been able to produce anything.
Yeah.
Because again, Nick Chubb is affected by not having good quarterback play. The offensive line is affected. The wide receivers are affected. The defense is affected because they have to keep going on the field more often because you can't put together an offensive drive.
Let's get a run game, according to Myles Garrett.
Yeah, but like, I think I'm excited for if we ever get a good quarterback. I think the wide receivers could produce well. I think we have a good wide receiver core right now.
Well, we saw that with Winston. I mean, he's throwing for 500 freaking yards.
Yeah, I think they're pretty young. The defense isn't terrible. I still think they can do things like they did in 2023, but it's been injuries that's really hit everything. But no, there's only been a few things that have really stood out. But and on a kicker, I honestly think we should start looking at soccer players right now and seeing if there's anyone. Because I mean, Brandon Aubrey is literally the best kicker in the NFL by a mile, and he's just a random soccer player they picked up. So I think the Browns should be looking at a soccer player, seeing if they can't sign him on a minimum like $600,000 a year and be like,
I love that.
This guy's gonna go kick. Because I mean, I watched Brandon Aubrey because I watched the Cowboys. He easily, I think, could hit a 70-yard field goal. I think he could kick one from like 69.
Well, shoot, man, you get these kids out here on ESPN College Game Day kicking before these games start, and they're winning $50,000 for kicking it through the uprights, and they're, from 35, 40 yards out. These are kids that have never kicked before. I mean, Dustin, I just can't believe the Browns. It was a boneheaded decision. Obviously you go back and, okay, well, we weren't expecting it, but I will say this. If you go back and look at Dustin Hopkins' record, his career prior to coming to Cleveland, I don't know if either one of you have looked at that, but when you get an opportunity to look at that, and I started looking last year when he was really successful, I mean, he got run out of San Diego, or he got run out of the Chargers. He lost the competition because he started having some mental breakdowns and wasn't making the kicks, and he lost his job when he left the Chargers. So obviously, I mean, there's a track record there. And, I know kickers go through cycles sometimes, but it is so mental. The kicking game is such a mental thing. So,
and the Bengals have your 4th round pick right now in Cade York.
Right. And he's also dating a really hot Dallas Cowboys cheerleader. So I understand that too. So what a nice guy, Cade York. No.
It's nice.
All right. So what's your wish list? We're coming up to New Year's. Final takes here. Going into 2025, Jarrell, let's start again with you. Your wish list of like 3 or 4 things that you'd like to see the Brownies do in 2025. Either
no surprise here.
Or,
no surprise. New GM. I'd like to see a new GM.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see a new coach. I'd like to see some new leadership in the building. I really don't care what they do at quarterback. I think of Deshaun Watson, I think he needs to ask to be cut and go somewhere else and just, I think it's been a Denver Russell Wilson type thing for him. I think he can go somewhere else and maybe have better success, but I don't think the fans want him. That energy is palpable on Sundays.
Yeah.
If he can get out, he should try to get out. And I think the Browns should, it's going to be a lost year. I think it's going to be a bridge year, but I would just like to see the defense just retool your defense, try to get back to a solid running game, and then build on that. But definitely I want to see some new leadership, picking the players and leading the players.
Okay. I like it. Sam?
Don't draft someone stupid. You have a top 5 pick. You have incredible value with said top 5 pick. There are some really good players at this top 5. I think this is one of the most stacked top 10s you'll find in the past few years. I mean, I'm looking at the order right now, right?
Yeah, I'm looking. I was looking at the order too.
The Giants probably are going to pick a quarterback. The Patriots are your first real. They'll probably end up picking Travis Hunter. The Jaguars are going to pick possibly the guy out of Arizona, McMillan, the wide receiver, and that gives you Mason Graham out of Michigan, Will Johnson out of Michigan. You get Abdul Carter out of Penn State. You get people.
These are
like
all
Will
linemen,
Campbell.
correct?
What?
They're all linemen.
Yeah, these are all defensive linemen. So
Okay.
interior defensive is Mason Graham. You've got Will Johnson as a cornerback. You got an edge in Abdul Carter. Some really, really good guys in that top 4 through 10 area.
Mm-hmm.
I think you could really make a good pick. But if you decide to go someone like Shadur Sanders with how stacked this top 10 is, I just don't. I think it would be fun to have Shadur Sanders. I think it would be a nice little experiment to see. But you have such a good pick right now in such a stacked top 10 because this is a draft where it goes incredible, 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 and then you get to pick 11 and you're like, okay, that guy's pretty good, and then you get to like pick 23 and you're like, okay, this guy's like decent, but he's not great. It's not one of the drafts where all the talent is spread out. It's a stacked top
Really
10.
top. Okay.
So I think right now you just need to pick. I think, like Jarrell said, best available is probably a good idea. So if Travis Hunter manages to fall to 4, I don't think he will. And you never know. There's still 2 more weeks.
Could we move up? I mean, we could move up potentially,
We could,
right?
in theory, move up. Yeah, because the Jaguars are going to have to play the Titans. So if they win, you never know. That would move us up to 3. The Patriots are probably not going to win another game, so I don't see them moving up. And the Giants.
But you lost to the Giants, right? So you got they own the tiebreaker.
Yeah, because
you could go 1, right? I mean, right? Isn't that still
1? The highest I see us moving up to, though, is the 3. I think the highest we're going to get up to is the 3 right now, but you never know. We could move up to 1, but I think right now it's just going to be pick best available and pick probably a interior defensive lineman, or maybe cornerback, depending on what you're seeing.
All right. Jarrell, you were asking me about the round pick. So we have a first round pick of our own. We have a second round pick of our own. We have a third round pick of our own. We also have another third round pick that we got from Buffalo. We have a fourth round pick. We have a fifth round pick that we got from the Lions. And we have 3 6th round picks, one of our own, and then one from the Dolphins via the Bears and one from the Vikings. So in total, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9. 9 picks. So we have 1 through 5, 2 number 3s. And so, so that's where we're at. So it could, I mean, boy, wouldn't it be something we got number 1?
But what are you going to do with number 1? I mean, don't draft Shadur Sanders with the number 1 pick.
Oh, hell no.
I mean,
no. He's not number 1. He's 10 or 12.
I haven't looked at the big board, but just looking at some of the old, some of these running backs and some of the defensive linemen. We'll start looking at that more. We'll have some shows. I know Sam likes to track a lot of that, so he'll have some stuff on his Browns breakdowns coming up to you. This game on Sunday, again, it's at 4:00 Eastern, 3:00 Central Time. It was originally supposed to be a prime time game, Sunday night football, but they changed it a few weeks ago. The Miami Dolphins have something to play for, a playoff position potentially. So we'll have a pregame show and we'll have a postgame show. I do want to share out real quick that there are 2 tickets potentially available. If any one of you who's watching or listening right now is interested in going to the Dolphins game, please direct message me, John Suchan on the X, or if you follow me on Facebook, send me a message if you have an interest in going to that Browns-Dolphins game. It's 4:00 afternoon game. Just direct message me. Again, it's John Suchan. It's at John, and then last name Suchan, Suchan. Follow me on the X, and I will talk to you about those tickets. Jarrell, thank you very much for being here. Sam, thank you very much for being here. Go Browns. Any final thoughts before we part ways with our fans?
Please don't pick Shadur Sanders at 1.
I think they're going to lose again.
Please pick Shadur Sanders at 1. If the Giants want to pick Shadur Sanders at 1, I'm totally fine with that.
If we can get, I don't think we're going to, my bold prediction here, Jarrell, we're not scoring more than 20 points.
I'll,
Well, that's
I'll,
not
I'll,
very
I'll
bold.
do you better than that. We're not scoring more than 13. I gave them 24-10 last week. They got 6.
Yeah,
So I'm going to take 3.
I'll give him 10. I'm gonna give them a touchdown and a field goal by their new. I think did I see something that Riley Patterson is better? No, there's another guy who's probably gonna kick on Sunday that I can't even pronounce his last name. So
They should shut Garrett down. They should shut Ward down. Look, just in the season early,
did you see
y'all go home.
Denzel Ward had a funny comment today. He was asked at the press conference about his long-term deal here in Cleveland. He was reminded that Myles Garrett said all this stuff about what he's looking for, and Denzel just said, well, whatever Myles hears back or whatever whenever he talks to the organization, I'll just be peeking over his shoulder, and that'll be good enough for me. Like so it's kind of an interesting take. So all right, guys, have a very good rest of your Thursday evening. Thanks again for following along here on the Fanatical Elfz Network and this is our big show. Lots of programming coming up. We have pregame show on Sunday. Please come back and join us. Jarrell, thank you so much. Dog Food radio programming. Sam, the man with the Browns breakdown show. Please tune into these guys. Great stuff. Love your takes. We all have different angles about the Brownies, and interested to see what the Browns decide to do next, which we're certainly going to talk about and probably not like. So see y'all later. Go Browns.
Go Browns.